Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about Nintendo, and we talked about Nintendo the other day when they unveiled their brand new music app. And well, today, a lot of people have checked out that app, and some people are accusing them of blatantly ripping off YouTube Music. In fact, here's one of a few articles I've seen online, and this one says Nintendo's new music app is a clone of YouTube Music. Now, some people may not notice the similarities between Nintendo Music and YouTube Music, and that's because YouTube Music was redesigned back in 2023. 9to5 Google has the old screenshot of YouTube Music, and that one is on the left. And the new Nintendo Music app is on the right, and yeah, they look extremely similar. You could almost say that Nintendo is emulating an older version of YouTube Music. In my opinion here, these are extremely similar. I mean, if you take a look at the location and size of the play and shuffle buttons, they've also got 3 icons here underneath the title and description. The playlist looks very similar, except Nintendo's has pictures in it. And you can see the now playing at the bottom that looks almost the exact same, as well as having 3 buttons right on the bottom. All of this seems eerily familiar. Furthermore, that's not the only page that looks similar. If you take a look at the library page on YouTube Music and, well, the My Music page on Nintendo Music, again, they look strikingly similar. But wait, there's even more. Check out the now playing and also the playlist view. And yeah, to me, these look strikingly similar. I do recommend checking out the full article for a full comparison. And like everything I talk about, link will be in the description below right at the bottom. And let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Do you think Nintendo Music is eerily similar to the old version of YouTube Music? Do you think YouTube or Google has a case against Nintendo to possibly issue a DMCA or something like that? I mean, overall here, I think there's a huge case for Google to go after Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo seems to be emulating something that used to exist before. I could be wrong, though. And speaking about emulating something that used to exist before, next up we're talking about Pretendo. For those who may not be aware, Pretendo stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, and it's a free and open source replacement for Wii U and 3DS official servers that seem to no longer exist. Anyways, here Nintendo has just dropped their October progress update, and this one, in my opinion, is a big one. There's a lot of new and exciting things for Pretendo. So the first thing in this report is the Archiverse. Now they say, as many of you know, the original Miiverse service was shut down in 2017. However, before the service went dark for good, a team of dedicated archivists known as the Archive Team managed to archive a whopping 17 terabytes worth of posts, drawings, and images. Pretendo goes on to say, "We are happy to announce that we have come together with the new maintainers of Archiverse to merge our services. Archiverse is now an official Pretendo network service, with the intent to have full read-only integrations within the on-console Miiverse apps and in games." This is huge. The next big announcement from Pretendo is in regards to multiplayer. They're in the process of revamping the multiplayer architecture by setting up relays. These relay servers should hopefully remove some of the problems people using Pretendo are currently experiencing, like removing the issue of incompatible networks, hopefully here improving security by masking people's IP, logging of gameplay events to help report and track cheaters, and more efficient player kicks on a per-session basis. On top of all of that, Pretendo has announced something here I think a lot of people are going to be excited about. 2 new games are in beta testing. One of those is Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, and the second one here is Super Street Fighter 4. Now, I'm more of a fan of Super Street Fighter 4, but at the same time, I think the majority of players are probably going to be a bigger fan of Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Anyways, this is huge. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about this. Feel free to check out Pretendo's website to read the entire report, as well as check out their website to see what games are compatible with it and the current progress they're making. This is very exciting in my opinion. Next up, we're talking about Monster Hunter, and if you're looking forward to the upcoming Monster Hunter Wilds and you're not a part of the open beta test, or if you're a part of the open beta test and wanted to learn more about it, the game has been data mined. I'm not going to share any of this information to avoid spoilers for everybody, but if you are looking for spoilers, there is a lot of information out there, and you can check out that Reddit link. Monster Hunter Wilds is releasing on February 28th, 2025, so just in a few months. Kind of crazy to think that February is just in a few months. This year has flown by. Anyways, here it does incorporate de novo, and I think it's got a 5 PC installation limit in one day, so just be mindful of that if you are on Steam. And speaking about Steam, next up we're talking about Steam charts and Dragon Age the Veilguard. Now, it's no surprise right now that Monster Hunter Wilds beta test is dominating Steam charts. But in second place for trending games right now is Dragon Age the Veilguard. It's doing very well. So at the time of filming, Dragon Age the Veilguard has been out for about 24 hours, give or take. And taking a look over on SteamDB right now, and it's got an all-time peak of concurrent players sitting at 70,414, which would make this BioWare's most successful game launch on PC. Their previous one on Steam had 59,817 people playing at the exact same time, and that was Mass Effect Legendary. So overall, I would say BioWare is extremely happy about this launch, and there is one huge kicker. The game has already been cracked. I mean, I could be wrong here, but over on Reddit, Crackwatch, the game is reported as cracked, and it was reported as cracked about 40 minutes after it launched. It's about 82 gigs in size. I'm very surprised about this one, considering I don't think the game has de novo, but it's doing so well on the Steam charts. I'm wondering if there's any relation whatsoever to whether or not the game is pirated or cracked and whether or not it does well. I mean, I would say no based on what I'm seeing here. I would say that de novo wouldn't make any difference on the success of this game. BioWare is hitting it out of the park with Dragon Age the Veilguard. But again, I could be wrong. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Next up, we're talking about Mortal Kombat 1. And if you're a fan of MK1 and a fan of Scream or a fan of DLC, you might be excited about this update. Ed Boon has just showcased some gameplay for Ghostface, and the gameplay looks really good. Ghostface is heading to the game on November 19th for early access and November 26th for everyone else. Kind of surprised that he didn't launch on October 31st. I think that would have been more fitting. But at the same time here, having Ghostface in the game, I think kind of makes sense. Let me know your thoughts about this one. I mean, on one hand, I'm not really interested in playing as Ghostface, but on the other hand, I think it would be a lot of fun to fight him. Next up, we're talking about EA and Apex Legends. And if you're a fan of Apex Legends and you've got a Steam Deck or you play on Linux, you're not going to like this news. It's in regards to the anti-cheat and also Linux support, which is no longer there. So here is the note. Hey Legends, we're sharing today that Linux and Steam Deck using Linux will no longer be able to access Apex Legends. Our dev team wanted to provide a bit more context into this and share some of the decision-making process that happened along the way. As mentioned in our prior anti-cheat dev blog, competitive integrity is a top priority for our team, and there are many ways in which we're battling cheaters. This is one to add to the list. We remain committed to more regular updates on topics like this and appreciate your continued reports. Now, if you're hopeful that Apex is going to find a way to work on Linux, I really wouldn't hold my breath because they've got even more information here. In our efforts to combat cheating in Apex, we've identified Linux OS as being a path for a variety of impactful exploits and cheats. As a result, we've decided to block Linux OS access to the game. While this will impact a small number of Apex players, we believe the decision will meaningfully reduce instances of cheating in our game. Linux is used by default on the Steam Deck. There is currently no reliable way for us to differentiate a legitimate Steam Deck from a malicious cheat claiming to be a Steam Deck via Linux. However, specifically for the Steam Deck, they say playing on handhelds such as the Steam Deck is still possible if the user opts to install Windows. So I'm guessing here that cheating is going to be reduced a whole lot in Apex Legends and won't be a problem anymore. I mean, if they're banning Linux and they say Linux was the cause of all of the cheating, or at least the majority of it, I'm assuming now that cheating is going to go the way of the dodo in Apex Legends, and it's just going to be sunshine and roses for everybody. Now, I am not going to lie here. I am extremely disappointed to read this, even though I don't really play Apex Legends. I don't think this is the right approach, and I think it sends the wrong message. On top of that, if this does not improve the cheating situation, if it doesn't reduce cheating, are they going to enable Linux again, or are they going to stick to their guns? Considering this is EA, I would assume that they're probably going to stick to their guns here and just not support Linux anymore, but I could be wrong. Now, heading over to Steam and taking a look at Apex Legends, and right now the all-time reviews, it's sitting at a mixed overall review score, which is not very great considering that almost 1 million people have reviewed this game. And that's just not recent, that is all time. Recently, it's also sitting at mixed. I'm assuming, though, that the recent reviews are going to start to go down based on this decision. Again, I could be wrong here. And taking a look on the side too, it does say it's currently unsupported by the Steam Deck. So let me know your thoughts about this entire situation in the comments below. What do you think about Apex no longer supporting Linux? Do you think that this is going to significantly reduce cheating? And do you still play Apex? And I guess on a side note here, if you are on Linux, should EA's new slogan be something like, EA, it's not in the game. But moving on from that, and next up we're talking about the Nintendo Switch. And there are a lot of rumors out there right now about the Switch. A lot about the Switch 2, which we're not going into in this video. But there's a lot of rumors about a number of remasters potentially hitting the Switch. There's a lot of articles, a lot of videos out there, and I think this kind of sums everything up really well. So these are just rumors, nothing is confirmed. From Ubisoft, we've got Splinter Cell, Rayman 3, Driver 1 and 2. That seems very interesting. From EA, a bunch of Wii games, and from Bandai Namco, multiple projects. Again, nothing has been confirmed, but you may see some spin out there about this. Now, I don't know about you. I'm not going to hold my breath for any of this, but out of all of these, I'd be most excited about Driver 1 and 2. I haven't played those games in a while, and I should probably revisit them, but maybe not the parking level from the first game. Next up here, we're talking about Android Auto, and this is more of just a quick heads up. If you've got an older device running an older version of Android, for example 8.0 or earlier, Android Auto should no longer work on those devices. I think it requires Android 9.0 and newer. And to be honest with you, I wish Android Auto just worked properly with my Google Pixel devices. I mean, I've got a Pixel 8. It does not work well with Android Auto. I've got a Pixel 9. It does not work well with Android Auto. You think a Google product would work well with something designed by Google, but apparently not. Anyways, I just run into a bunch of issues. My wife's Samsung Galaxy works a lot better with Android Auto. It makes no sense to me. Anyways, here, if you are running into issues with Android Auto on an older phone, that's why. And speaking about new phones, next up we're talking about OnePlus, and the OnePlus 13 seems like it's going to be a pretty big beast. I mean, it's going to feature a Snapdragon 8 Elite, provided Qualcomm's allowed to sell them and ARM doesn't block them. On top of that, the RAM options seem very nice, 12 gigs, 16 gigs, or a whopping 24 gigs of RAM being available, a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, and an IP69 water resistance rating. There is something I want to point out here about the IP69 certification, because it is different than IP68, which I think was the previous OnePlus 12. So it is water resistant in some way, shape, or form here. It is designed to withstand something like water jets. However, at the same time, the big difference between 68 and 69, at least in my opinion, for a smartphone application, is that 69 is not rated for continuous submersion. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not that adventurous when it comes to bringing my phone into wet environments. I know some people are a little bit more adventurous and will bring it into the shower or something. Anyways, here, limitations of IP69. No continuous immersion guarantee. Unlike IP68, IP69 does not offer specific protection against prolonged immersion in water. Devices with IP69 ratings may not be suitable for applications requiring continuous underwater use. So who knows here, maybe it won't be a problem with OnePlus 13 phones, but at the same time there are some misconceptions that a higher number means better. Yes, it's better in certain areas, but there may be drawbacks in others. And speaking about Android, next up here we're talking about Mozilla Thunderbird, which just officially released the real version, not the beta version, on the Google Play Store. And it's already got over 10,000 downloads. It's just been launched, and in my opinion, this is a great email client. Mozilla Thunderbird is free, it's open source, it's based on K9, and in my opinion, I've checked out the Google Play Store version, and it does work pretty well. Let me know your thoughts. And continuing to speak about Android and also iOS, next up we're talking about Google Pixel and also the iPhone. And it turns out that the Pixel and the iPhone 16 are banned in Indonesia simply because they don't make enough of them there. So apparently the Indonesian rule requires tech companies to source 40% of handset and tablet components domestically, a requirement that can be met through local manufacturing, firmware development, or direct investment in innovation projects. Now, Indonesia is a huge country with a massive population, and this may be a huge blow to Google and Apple. And on a side note here, if you do live in Indonesia and you're trying to just import one of these devices to get around the ban, they could be deactivated. It appears that Indonesia is taking this very seriously. Next up here, we're talking about Indiana Jones, and if you wanted to see a whole bunch of gameplay, there's a brand new video on YouTube showcasing about 16 minutes of gameplay from the upcoming game. And I would say here the gameplay does look pretty good. Looking at the comments, and it seems people are agreeing with me, have the same point of view here. And if you do, let me know in the comments below if you've seen the gameplay. So this person says, I'll be the first to admit it looks way better than I ever thought it would. This person says this is the movie sequel that we deserved. I had no high expectations, but now this is just fantastic. That looks so good. I wish there was a VR option. The lighting, level design, the details, I'm blown away how they actually created a believable Indiana Jones game. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is releasing on December 6th, I think, if you pre-order the game, and on December 9th for everybody else. And on Steam here, I don't see anything saying anything about de novo. And last up here, we're talking about MAME. If you're a fan of MAME and a fan of Time Crisis 2, you are going to like this update. MAME version 0.271 just dropped, and I've got some great news for you. So like every month with MAME, there's a whole bunch of fixes, improvements, new systems promoted to working, new games promoted to working, and even more here. For October, they say there's been a good month for the gambling system emulation, if you're a fan of that kind of stuff. On top of that, and it's just one line here, but it's a very important thing, they say there's some very visible improvement to Namco System 23 emulation. You may or may not know, but Time Crisis 2 runs on Namco System 23. So if you play Time Crisis 2 on MAME, let me know your experiences with MAME 0271 versus previous versions in the comments below. Was there a notable visual improvement? And last up here, we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on Android with Strato. And Strato is currently in development. I do not have a release date for it just yet. However, they've just put out a brand new video showcasing Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl in action, over an hour long. If you wanted to check out that video, I've got no idea how long it's going to be up for, but again, like everything I talk about, link will be in the description below. Now, based on everything I've seen in that video, the frame rate counter here isn't clickbait. It seems the game is running close to 30 frames per second for most of the time. I think the most impressive thing here is after the full hour, the frame rates are still holding steady. I don't see any throttling. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and the legendary one fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.